What happens when the most powerful figure in financial journalism finally loses patience with political spin and confronts a former president live on air? What you're about to witness is one of the most volatile interviews in broadcasting history, a moment where professional courtesy vanishes, and two titans collide in a battle that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about media power dynamics. Subscribe now and tell me in the comments what you think really set off this meltdown, because what follows will shock you. The Bloomberg studios in Manhattan carried an unusual charge that morning. John Micklethwait, editor-in-chief of Bloomberg News, and one of the most respected names in financial journalism, was preparing for what should have been a routine political interview. The agenda: economic policy, market stability, the usual talking points. But the moment the cameras rolled, it was clear this would be anything but routine. "Mr. President, let's begin with your trade policies," Micklethwait opened, his measured British cadence slicing through the calm studio air. "Your administration's approach was, shall we say, unconventional. How does threatening tariffs on allies strengthen the American economy?" The former president's response came with force. John, you know what's unconventional? The way Bloomberg has covered me for years. Totally unfair, totally biased. Your viewers deserve better than the fake news you've been peddling." Micklethwait's eyebrows lifted slightly, but his voice stayed calm. "I'm not here to debate our coverage, sir. I'm here to discuss policy. Economists across the spectrum warn your tariff strategy risks inflation and higher consumer costs. How do you respond to that concern? Those are the same economists who swore my policies would crash the markets." The president snapped back. "Instead, we had the best economy in history before the China virus hit. And Bloomberg? You never gave me credit." "Not once." The editor leaned forward, his tone sharpening just slightly. "Sir, with respect, this is Bloomberg News, not a campaign rally. Our audience expects substance, not slogans. Can we return to the mechanisms of policy? Political talking points?" The president's volume rose. "Everything I said was fact, pure fact. The real talking points are the fake news your network has pushed from day one." Micklethwait placed his notes deliberately on the desk, his patience fraying. "I've interviewed heads of state, central bank governors, CEOs of the largest corporations on Earth. I've never had a guest so determined to turn a policy discussion into an attack on the interviewer. We uphold certain standards here." "Standards?" The president smirked. "Your standard is to go after conservatives and give liberals a free pass. That's not journalism, John. That's activism. And your viewers know it." The veteran journalist's jaw tightened. "I'll ask once more. Explain your trade strategy without deflecting to media grievances. Our audience deserves clarity." "Deflecting? No, John. I'm exposing the bias. The uncertainty in markets isn't from my policies. It's from networks like yours, spreading fear. My deals were incredible, but Bloomberg would never admit it." For the first time, Micklethwait's legendary composure cracked. "In 30 years of interviews, I've never encountered such relentless refusal to engage on substance. Our audience deserves better than this performance." "No, John," the president shot back. "They deserve the truth, and the truth is that Bloomberg News has failed them. What's extraordinary isn't me calling it out. It's you pretending you're above it." The studio air grew thick, every second pushing the exchange deeper into uncharted territory. Micklethwait's warning tone cut through the tension. "Mr. President, this is Bloomberg News, not your personal platform for grievances. Either we discuss policy, or this interview ends here." The retort was immediate, defiant. "So you're gonna cut me off for telling the truth? That's the authoritarian journalism destroying trust in media. Your viewers see it. They see exactly what's happening." Something in Micklethwait's expression shifted. The mask of calm broke, and for the first time, genuine anger flashed across his face. "You know what, sir?" His voice cut like glass. "In 3 decades of journalism, interviewing Putin, Xi, and countless world leaders, I have never, and I mean never, encountered someone so fundamentally incapable of serious policy discussion." "This is embarrassing." The studio froze. A silence so sharp it seemed to hum in the air. Production assistants exchanged stunned looks, as though they couldn't believe what they'd just heard. John Micklethwait, the man who had stared down dictators, who had remained unshaken through decades of high-stakes interviews, had just delivered a professional death blow on live television. "Embarrassing, John," the president shot back, his voice rising. "You want to know what's embarrassing? A so-called journalist who can't handle being called out on his own network's bias. You're supposed to ask tough questions, but when I give you tough answers about your failures, you crumble. That's what's embarrassing." Micklethwait leaned back slightly, a cold smile flickering at the corners of his mouth. "Tough answers? Sir, you haven't given a single substantive answer in the past 15 minutes. What should have been a serious discussion on policy has become nothing but a grievance session about Bloomberg. That's not leadership. That's deflection." "Deflection?" The president's voice thundered now. "I've been giving you straight answers about policies that worked, while your network spent 4 years undermining everything we achieved. And now you sit there pretending to be objective, when everyone knows Bloomberg has been running an anti-conservative agenda for years." The editor's eyes narrowed, his tone turning razor-sharp. "An anti-conservative agenda? Mr. President, we've given fair, detailed coverage to conservative economic policies when they merited serious analysis. What we don't do is provide a platform for unsubstantiated claims and conspiracy theories. There is a line between journalism and propaganda, and frankly, I'm beginning to wonder if you even recognize that line." "Propaganda?" The president leaned forward, jabbing the air with his finger. "You're calling my policies propaganda? John, we had the greatest economy in American history before the pandemic. Record unemployment, record stock market, historic trade deals. But your network, you twisted it, spun it negative every time. That's not journalism. That's activism." Micklethwait's composure, already stretched beyond its limits, finally snapped. "Right. Stop. Just stop." He raised his hand, his voice slicing through the studio with authority that rattled even the production crew. "This is Bloomberg News, not a campaign rally, not an advertisement. Our audience, investors, CEOs, policymakers, tunes in for facts, for analysis, for substance. And what you're doing right now? It's an insult to them, and frankly, to the office you once held." The reply came like a thunderclap. "What's insulting, John, is how your network treated a sitting president, and how you continue to treat conservatives. You want to talk about serious financial news? Let's talk about how Bloomberg missed every major economic success under my administration because you were too busy pushing your political narrative." Micklethwait stood abruptly, his chair skidding back. The cameras caught every detail, his face flushed with anger, his legendary restraint gone. "That is absolutely enough. In 30 years of journalism, I've interviewed prime ministers, presidents, central bankers, corporate giants, figures far more formidable than you. And I have never, not once, seen such a brazen disregard for professional discourse." "Professional discourse?" the president sneered. "You've been unprofessional since the moment this started. Loaded questions, obvious bias. And when I called you out, you couldn't take the heat. That's not journalism. That's advocacy, masquerading as news." The veteran journalist's voice dropped into something cold, cutting, and final, a tone his colleagues had never heard before. "Sir, journalism is about accountability, and today, live on this broadcast, the world has just seen exactly why accountability terrifies you. Sir, I have conducted thousands of interviews in my career, Micklethwait said, his voice measured but carrying an unmistakable edge. I have sat across from dictators who jailed journalists, autocrats who silenced opposition, and CEOs who defrauded millions. And yet, in every single case, even with the most hostile subjects, we managed to have a substantive discussion about policy, economics, or governance. But you— His eyes narrowed. You appear incapable of engaging in anything beyond your personal grievances with the press. The president's voice boomed in reply. Grievances? No, John. Facts. Facts about how your network operates. And the fact that you refuse to acknowledge that bias proves my point. You're so invested in your narrative that you can't even pretend to be objective anymore. Micklethwait moved from behind the desk, his stride sharp, deliberate. Objective? Let me define objective for you, sir. Objective is asking a straightforward question about tariff policy. Objective is redirecting a conversation back to substance after repeated detours. Objective is maintaining focus on policy when the other party insists on making it personal. What's happening here is not an interview. It's theater, a performance. And it's wasting everyone's time. The studio's air crackled. Camera operators kept rolling, their lenses locked on the rare sight of control, unraveling live on air. This wasn't journalism anymore. It was a bare-knuckled confrontation. A performance? The president scoffed. The only performance here is you pretending to be objective when everyone watching can see exactly what's going on. You're rattled, John, because for the first time someone called out your network's bias on your own show. Micklethwait's reply was ice-cold. What's bothering me, sir, is not being challenged. What's bothering me is that you've turned a serious platform into a circus. Bloomberg News has a responsibility to its viewers, investors, leaders, policymakers, to deliver analysis and truth. What you're offering is neither. The circus, the president shot back, is your network pretending to be journalism while pushing a political agenda. And now, live on air. Everyone watching can see exactly how Bloomberg operates when its narrative is challenged. This is perfect, John. Absolutely perfect. Micklethwait's face paled, his fury sinking into something quieter, deadlier. Perfect. No, sir. What this is a complete abdication of responsibility. You are demonstrating, in real time, why institutions struggle to maintain standards in today's media environment. Standards? The president sneered. Your standards are to attack conservatives while shielding liberals. That's not journalism, that's propaganda. And your viewers deserve to know that's what they're getting when they tune in here. The editor stepped closer, lowering his voice to a dangerous whisper the microphone still caught. Let me make this absolutely clear. Bloomberg has covered Republican and Democratic administrations for decades. We have praised conservative policies when they worked. We have criticized liberal ones when they failed. What we will never do is allow this platform to become a stage for personal vendettas against our journalists. Personal vendetta? The president jabbed a finger at him. John, everything I've said is documented. Your bias is provable. The personal attack is you calling me incapable of serious discourse, when all I've been doing is defending real policies against your loaded questions, designed to make me look bad. Micklethwait's expression shifted, eerily calm now, like a man stepping across a line he could never uncross. Loaded questions? Sir, I asked you how tariffs strengthen the economy. That is not loaded. That is Economics 101. Instead of answering, you attacked our coverage. I asked you about inflationary pressures. Instead of addressing them, you attacked our economists. Every single substantive question has been met with grievance, not explanation. I answered you, John. The president shot back, jabbing the table with his hand. We had the greatest economy in history. But you refuse to admit it because it doesn't fit your narrative. You can't admit when you're wrong. Micklethwait walked back to his desk, planting both hands on its surface, leaning forward with the intensity of a prosecutor. Wrong about what, specifically? Wrong about trade wars causing market volatility? Wrong about tariffs increasing consumer costs? Wrong about isolationist policies damaging international partnerships? Because, sir, those aren't opinions. Those are documented economic realities. Market volatility? The president laughed bitterly. The markets hit record highs under me. Consumer costs were stable until the pandemic. And yet Bloomberg never gave credit. Never once. Always searching for the negative. That's your reality, John. A manufactured one. International relationships were stronger because other countries finally respected America again. But your network, Bloomberg, you spent 4 years trying to convince people that success was actually failure. The veteran journalist's laugh was sharp and humorless. Respected America? Sir, polling data from every major ally showed declining trust in U.S. leadership during your tenure. That isn't opinion. That's measurable data. But apparently, documented evidence is also part of our bias in your worldview. Polling data from the same groups that said I would lose the election? John, you're proving my point. Fake news, biased reporting. You cherry-pick numbers that support your narrative and ignore everything that contradicts it. That's not journalism. That's activism. Micklethwait straightened, his voice clipped and final. That's it. I'm done. He looked directly into the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Micklethwait for Bloomberg News. What you've witnessed here today is why serious journalism matters. When a guest cannot engage in substantive policy discussion, and instead turns an interview into grievance theater, we have an obligation to end it. You're ending the interview because I told the truth about your bias. John, this is perfect. This is exactly what I've been saying about fake news media. When someone calls you out, you shut them down. Your viewers are watching this happen in real time. Micklethwait's voice carried the weight of countless hard decisions. Sir, this interview is over. Not because you're telling some uncomfortable truth, but because you've shown a complete inability to engage in the serious policy conversation our audience expects and deserves. Bloomberg News is not a stage for personal vendettas. So you're kicking me off live television because I exposed your bias? This is incredible. Better than any policy talk we could have had. Because now everyone knows exactly how Bloomberg operates when challenged. The editor turned to his crew. Cut to commercial. This interview is over. Then back to his guest with cold finality. Sir, you're welcome to return when you're prepared to discuss policy, not relitigate media coverage. Until then, this conversation serves no one. I'm not going anywhere. John, your viewers deserve to hear the truth about Bloomberg News. You can't just cut me off because you don't like what I'm saying. Micklethwait leaned forward, his tone quiet, but absolute. Actually, sir, I can. This is Bloomberg News, not your personal platform. We maintain editorial control, and what you're providing is not journalism. The interview is over. The cameras kept rolling as studio tension reached its peak. Assistants froze, unsure whether to cut the feed or keep broadcasting the most explosive confrontation in Bloomberg history. Micklethwait stood firm, while his guest remained locked in the chair, still speaking to cameras, seconds from blackout. This is exactly what I've been talking about. Came the last words before the feed cut. Fake news media shutting down anyone who challenges their narrative. Your viewers just saw it happen live. The screen went black. Then, commercial break. Viewers around the world were left stunned. One of the most respected figures in financial journalism had just done the unthinkable, ending a live interview, ejecting a former president from his network's airwaves in real time. What did you think of Micklethwait's decision to cut the interview? Was he right to uphold Bloomberg's editorial standards? Or did he go too far in shutting down the conversation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more incredible stories like this one. The clash between traditional journalism and modern political discourse has never been more vividly, illustrated than in these explosive minutes that changed everything.